The bud, blossom, and fruit illustrate this dynamic beautifully. The bud, in its initial form, holds the promise of the blossom within it, even as the blossom's emergence signifies the end of the bud's distinct existence. One might say that the blossom refutes the bud, but this is only in the sense that the blossom fulfills what the bud implicitly contains. Similarly, the fruit replaces the blossom as the ultimate truth of the plant, yet it does not negate the blossom's importance. Rather, it completes the process the blossom began. In this way, the so-called contradictions between philosophical systems are better understood as moments of transformation within the organic development of thought. Just as the bud, blossom, and fruit are not independent entities, but interconnected stages of a single life process, so too are the systems of philosophy unified within the dialectic of reason. What appears as the refutation of an earlier system by a later one is in reality the unfolding of truth in richer and more comprehensive forms. Each system preserves aspects of its predecessor while transcending its limitations, carrying forward its essential insights into new configurations. To see diversity in philosophy merely as contradiction is to misunderstand the very nature of truth. Truth is not a static endpoint, but a dynamic process, one that moves through apparent oppositions toward greater unity and coherence. This process is not linear, but dialectical, involving negation and synthesis at every stage. The false in this context is not an absolute failure, but a necessary moment within the larger movement of truth's realization. As the fruit does not negate the blossom, but brings the plant to fruition, so too does each philosophical system contribute to the growth of knowledge, even as it is surpassed by more developed expressions of truth. Such a perspective demands a reevaluation of how we engage with philosophical systems. Instead of seeking agreement or contradiction with our preconceived notions, we must approach each system as a moment in the living development of reason, appreciating its contributions while recognizing its limitations. Only then can we move beyond the superficial opposition of truth and falsity to embrace the deeper dialectic that animates the philosophical enterprise. At first glance, the various forms of philosophical thought appear not only different, but fundamentally incompatible, as if the emergence of one form necessarily displaces and invalidates the others. This seeming incompatibility often leads to a superficial understanding that treats these forms as isolated and mutually exclusive, disconnected fragments vying for the title of truth. However, such a perspective overlooks the deeper organic unity underlying these apparent conflicts. In reality, these forms are not independent or antagonistic entities, but interrelated moments within a living, dynamic whole. Their differences, rather than signifying discord, are the conditions for their mutual necessity and interdependence. The fluid nature of these forms lies at the heart of their relationship. Each form emerges from the limitations of its predecessor, carrying forward what was implicit and developing it into a new stage of understanding. In this progression, no single form holds a monopoly on truth. Instead, each contributes a vital part to the greater unfolding of reason. This process is not one of simple coexistence, where forms merely occupy space side by side, but of an active and evolving interplay in which each moment is necessary to the life of the whole. This organic unity is akin to the functioning of a living organism, where every part, though distinct, derives its meaning and purpose from its relation to the whole. The roots, trunk, branches, leaves, and fruit of a tree, for instance, do not merely coexist, but depend on one another for their existence and vitality. Similarly, the various forms of thought are not isolated structures, but moments within the dialectical development of truth. The displacement of one form by another does not signify its annihilation, but rather its transformation, as the whole incorporates and transcends each moment in turn. The necessity of this process lies in the very nature of truth as dynamic and self-developing. Truth does not rest in any singular fixed form. It reveals itself through the dialectical movement in which each form contributes to the enrichment of the whole. The life of this whole, whether conceived as the unity of reason, spirit, or the unfolding of reality itself, depends on the interplay of its moments. Each moment is both distinct and indispensable, a particular expression that only finds its true meaning in relation to the totality.